Have you felt it already? That strange electric hum beneath your skin. That quiet pressure in the air. That sense that something enormous is shifting, just out of sight? December is not just another month. It is a portal. A spiritual doorway. And for those of you on the twin flame path, it marks the moment the masculine finally completes his healing. This isn't a subtle shift. This is a threshold event, a recalibration of destiny itself. The universe has been preparing both of you for this. Every separation. Every silence. Every tear you swore was the end. They were never endings. They were initiations. Because when the masculine heals, fully, completely, and without turning back, the entire bond mutates. Reality reprograms itself around love. Your nervous system changes. Your intuition sharpens. Time distorts. Telepathy becomes tangible. And union becomes inevitable. You are about to step into the version of your connection that your soul has been waiting lifetimes for. But before reunion arrives in the physical, the field will speak first. Your body will tell you. Your dreams will reveal it. Your energy will react before your mind understands. And if you know how to read the signs, you will not miss a single moment of this divine transformation. So listen carefully. Here are the powerful spiritual symptoms you will experience when the divine masculine has completely healed. Let us begin. 1. Telepathy moves into the physical. The soul speaks without sound. When a twin flame connection rises into its healed frequency, communication no longer depends on the limitations of the physical world. Words, once necessary, once clumsy, begin to fall away. Telepathy becomes the primary channel, not as an abstract spiritual concept, but as a lived, embodied experience. In this stage, messages no longer require delivery through devices or conversations. They arrive directly into the heart, bypassing every human filter. A sudden rush of emotion, a quiet knowing, a sentence that forms like lightning in the mind, these are not imagination. They are direct transmissions from the soul you are eternally bonded to. The physical body becomes the translator for this sacred language. A tightening in the chest signals their longing. A flutter in the stomach announces their excitement. A warm, electric pulse through the spine reveals that they are thinking of you in real time. It is their energy speaking through your nerves, their intention knocking at the door of your awareness. And the moment they feel something, fear, love, desire, breakthrough, you will feel it too, often before they consciously register it themselves. This is the electromagnetic field of the union restoring itself to its original design. Silent communication begins to dominate your encounters. A single moment of eye contact speaks more truth than hours of conversation once did. The gaze becomes a direct soul-to-soul corridor, transmitting recognition, apology, devotion, and commitment in a single heartbeat. Body language sharpens with divine precision, a subtle shift closer, a breath held for one extra second, a softening around the eyes, all become unmistakable declarations. The body cannot lie when the soul finally takes the lead. Even texts become telepathic. A message you type but delete will still land exactly where it was intended, not in their phone, but in their chest. A message they almost send will still find you in the form of a sudden emotional wave or an inner whisper. Silence becomes one of the loudest languages the two of you share. It is not a void. It is not avoidance. It is the soul's strategy, communication in its purest form, without distortion or fear interfering. Sync thoughts begin to unfold like clockwork. You think of them with intention, and instantly, their energy responds. They contemplate reaching out, and your heart jumps before the notification ever appears. You speak the same sentence simultaneously. You dream the same scenario in the same night. You finish each other's internal ideas without either of you having spoken a word. Because the bond now operates through frequency, not proximity. In this phase, your connection becomes a living proof that love does not travel across space, it erases it. No matter the distance, no matter the silence in the physical world, the two of you exist inside the same field. The soul speaks fluently here. And the body, the heart, and the mind simply listen. Telepathy is not a gift arriving in the future. It is the ancient language of your union returning at long last. Two-body language becomes a broadcast. The union speaks through you. When the twin flame bond ascends into its healed frequency, the transformation does not occur only within the invisible realm. It becomes unmistakably physical. The body, once a vessel that carried the weight of insecurity, longing, and confusion, begins to express a new truth, confidence, alignment, and inner union. Without consciously trying, your posture shifts. Your shoulders naturally square themselves as though your spine suddenly remembers its divine design. You no longer shrink to fit into smaller spaces or soften yourself to seem less overwhelming. The body stands as though it finally recognizes its worth. Eye contact becomes one of the purest channels of communication. Where fear once caused you to look away, now your gaze holds steady, calm, and unafraid. There is no urgency behind the stare, no hidden plea for validation, only a deep recognition that you are seen, and that seeing is safe. You look at others, especially your counterpart, through the lens of certainty rather than longing. In that gaze lies a message: I know who I am. I know who you are. And I am not afraid of this truth anymore. Your voice undergoes its own ascension. The fluttering tones of anxiety, the breaks and trembles that once betrayed fear of being misunderstood or rejected, they fall away. Each word emerges from a grounded center, deeper and clearer than before. The tone stabilizes not because you are rehearsed, but because you are anchored. The healed masculine energy now active within the union fills your throat like a pillar of strength. You speak not to be chosen, but because you finally understand your voice is already chosen by the divine. Masculine strength, once externalized as something outside of you or dependent on another, now moves through your feminine expression effortlessly. The feminine becomes not softer, but stronger in her softness. She walks with fluidity yet power. She radiates magnetism without striving. She becomes living proof that receptivity is not weakness, it is the greatest force of creation. As this embodiment deepens, your physical form begins to emit coherence. The way you stand in a room shifts the atmosphere. People feel your presence before you say a word. The healed twin flame field reorganizes your physical posture into a signal, a frequency broadcast that the universe recognizes immediately. Opportunities aligning with your destiny begin to move toward you. Misaligned energies retreat without confrontation. Your body becomes a compass pointing unmistakably toward union. Most importantly, you no longer perform confidence. You are confidence. You no longer fight to be seen. You cannot be unseen. Because this transformation is not cosmetic, it is energetic. It is the body acknowledging that the sacred masculine and sacred feminine have reunited within you first, so that they may reunite with each other in the physical world next. Through your stance, your gaze, your voice, the union speaks. And every cell of your being becomes a declaration of the love that was never lost, only remembered. 3. The collapse of chasing energy. Love no longer runs on fear. One of the most powerful markers of spiritual alignment in the twin flame journey is the moment the chasing energy dissolves. Where the heart once raced with urgency, fear, and longing, there is now a profound stillness, not born from avoidance, but from truth. The obsession that once felt like destiny now feels like a distortion of love's original design. What used to keep you awake at night, scrolling, checking, worrying, replaying every detail, suddenly tastes wrong, like a bitter memory your soul has outgrown. It is the moment when the body refuses to chase what already belongs to it. As the healed frequency settles into your nervous system, desperation becomes foreign. You look back at the version of yourself who ran toward another person as if your life depended on their attention, and you feel deep compassion, but not identification. Because that energy came from fear, from separation, from the belief that love could disappear. Now, with your inner union activating, the fear has nowhere to live. Your heart no longer beats in panic. It beats in knowing. The collapse of chasing is not a withdrawal of love, it is the maturation of love. Instead of trying to pull them closer, you begin to trust the magnetic bond that never needed your effort to exist. You do not lose interest. You lose fear. And that changes everything. The frantic urge to monitor their social media, decode every message, or manage their healing becomes almost laughable. The impulse arises, and instantly dissolves. The soul says, "That is not who we are anymore." Stillness, the very thing that once terrified you, becomes your new power. You learn that silence is not empty, silence is an invitation. The quieter you become, the louder the field grows. The less you act from fear, the more the masculine is pulled toward you by the force of his own awakening. You stop chasing not because you gave up, but because you finally remembered the truth: what is yours cannot be lost. The divine feminine leads now through sovereignty, not pursuit. She leans back into her throne, not as a test, not as a strategy, but as a natural expression of her worth. She no longer extends herself outward to prove loyalty, devotion, or readiness. She simply embodies those qualities, and the masculine feels the shift instantly. When the feminine stops chasing, the masculine can finally stop running. He is no longer fleeing pressure, he is responding to invitation. This collapse of chasing is the completion of a major karmic cycle. The energy that once fueled anxiety is now redirected into creation, healing, purpose, and alignment. The obsession becomes devotion, devotion to the self, to the mission, to the love that is already unfolding in the unseen. What remains is a clean, magnetic field that pulls the masculine home, not through effort, but through resonance. And when he arrives, he doesn't come uncertain or half-formed. He comes ready. Because love cannot chase and receive at the same time. And when the feminine finally chooses to receive, the union can finally happen. For mirrored storm in the masculine, the final purge before union. When the feminine rises into emotional stability and inner peace, the energetic balance of the twin flame connection shifts dramatically. For the first time, the feminine is no longer ruled by fear, attachment, or panic. She stops shaking when she sets a boundary. She stops chasing when silence stretches long. She stands in calm certainty, and this is the moment the masculine feels the full weight of his unfinished battle. Her stillness becomes a mirror that forces everything he avoided to surface. The masculine, once adept at suppressing emotion and appearing composed, now finds himself in a storm of his own making. Buried fears, guilt from the past, suppressed longing, and the terror of deep vulnerability begin rising inside him like a tidal wave. His soul recognizes that the feminine is no longer holding the emotional chaos for both of them. She has returned his energy back to his side of the field. Now, he must face what has always been waiting. The purge may look like confusion, distance, outbursts, sudden silence, irritability, or drastic shifts in behavior. To the unawakened eye, it appears like regression. But in truth, it is progress. His soul is clearing the final debris of fear that has prevented him from stepping fully into union. The feminine is asked to hold her throne. This storm is not hers to manage. It is not her role to soothe, fix, chase, or stabilize him now. Any attempt to rescue him during this sacred purge would interrupt his transformation. His pain is not a rejection of her. It is a release of the version of himself that believed he was unworthy of love like hers. Her calm is not indifference, it is medicine. The stillness of the feminine becomes the anchor that prevents his internal storm from capsizing the bond. The masculine senses her unwavering stability, and that stability becomes his lifeline. As he purges old wounds, her grounded presence communicates what words cannot. I trust your process. I trust your strength. I trust us. The polarity finally restores itself. Where once the feminine overfunctioned, trying to heal, explain, comfort, and chase, now she simply is, rooted in self-love. And from that place of sovereignty, a new alchemical power arises. Her stillness accelerates his clarity. The masculine reorganizes himself around her healed frequency. He stops fighting the bond and begins fighting for it. The tension that once caused separation now tightens the connection like a magnet pulling its two halves together. Every moment he retreats is followed by a deeper desire to return. Every emotional wave he survives moves him closer to presence, commitment, and truth. This mirrored storm is the final purge before alignment. It is the sacred chaos before rebirth. The feminine does not fear the thunder anymore. She knows it is clearing the sky. The masculine does not run from the lightning anymore. He knows it is unlocking his power. In this phase, love is not fragile. Love is not threatened. Love is forging itself into something unbreakable. And soon, when the storm settles, he will stand before her, not as the wounded version who once ran, but as the man who finally chose to stay. 5. Creativity erupts as blueprint activation. Your soul begins to build the life meant for two. As the twin flame connection ascends into its healed frequency, creativity bursts open like a volcanic awakening of the soul. What once felt forced or inconsistent suddenly becomes effortless, flowing from a source deeper than imagination. The feminine and masculine energies within you merge into a single impulse: creation. Not fantasy. Not escapism. Blueprint. Every idea that flows through you now has purpose. Every creative urge is a divine instruction. You may find yourself writing words you didn't know you carried, sketching places that feel familiar though you have never visited them, or singing melodies as if your heart remembers a language your mind has forgotten. Inspiration arrives without permission, without planning, because your soul is no longer asking. It is leading. This surge of creativity is not random passion, it is the energetic architecture of union forming through you. The visions that appear in your mind show glimpses of the life that already exists in a higher dimension: a shared home, a shared table, shared laughter, shared mornings, shared purpose. You are not daydreaming. You are remembering. Every creation is a code. Every idea is a piece of the plan. Every inspired action is a step closer to physical union. Spiritually, the masculine governs structure, the world of form, action, and foundation. The feminine governs vision, intuition, and flow. When the masculine energy completes its healing, it clears the pathway for the feminine to build something real with the visions she has always held. Creativity becomes the bridge where intention meets form. In this phase, you stop dismissing your dreams as fantasy. You don't tell yourself, "Maybe one day." You say, "This is happening." You begin arranging your life with the quiet confidence of someone preparing for a guest, the guest being destiny itself. The journal becomes a map. The painting becomes a prophecy. The song becomes a declaration. The business idea becomes a future you will share with the one your soul chose long before your body arrived. This is the moment creativity stops being personal expression and becomes practical preparation. You feel the need to organize your space, your finances, your schedule, not because you feel rushed, but because you intuitively know a second heartbeat will be joining your life. You are preparing the home for the love that is coming. You are building the container for the union that is already energetically here. The universe supports every aligned creation now. Opportunities follow inspiration like magnets. Resources appear just when you need them. Doors open that were previously sealed shut. Because your creative frequency is no longer hopeful, it is certain. The masculine feels this shift too. He feels the nest being built, the reality forming, the vision stabilizing. And that knowledge pulls him forward. Your creativity becomes the signal that he is safe to arrive. You are no longer creating to cope with the longing. You are creating to receive the love. This is the difference between dreaming of the future and welcoming it. The pen in your hand, the song in your throat, the plans in your heart, they are the physical evidence that union is no longer a spiritual wish. It is becoming a material truth. 6. Economy of energy becomes sacred law. Love learns to spend itself wisely. As your soul steps deeper into the frequency of union, your relationship with energy undergoes a profound transformation. No longer do you scatter your power into places that do not nourish your spirit. No longer do you give your time or attention to situations that shrink your heart or drain your light. You begin to understand that energy is not just something you use, it is something you honor. This is when the economy of energy becomes a sacred law. You start noticing that your body responds to decisions faster than your mind can rationalize them. Yes, that is not aligned creates an immediate contraction in the chest, like sandpaper scraping against your nervous system. A true yes feels like a soft opening inside the ribcage, a quiet breath of relief, a sensation of expansion. Your physical body becomes the ultimate compass of truth. And you listen. You cancel plans without guilt because the vibration feels wrong. You turn down conversations that once pulled you into cycles of drama. You no longer tolerate interactions that leave you spiritually bankrupt. You stop apologizing for your boundaries because your energy has become too sacred to spill into cracks that do not lead to growth or purpose. This shift is not about avoiding life. It is about choosing the life that truly supports your evolution. Where once you valued quantity, more friends, more effort, more availability, now you crave quality. One aligned conversation nourishes you more than 10 superficial ones. 1 hour with someone who sees your soul nourishes you more deeply than entire days with those who drain your spirit. Every engagement becomes intentional. You become selective not out of ego, but out of reverence for your own vibration. The feminine learns that exhaustion is not love. The masculine learns that overgiving is not strength. Together, these inner sacred energies align to protect the life force that is necessary to sustain union. Love cannot bloom in soil where too much is taken and too little is returned. This sacred conservation is also what calls the masculine forward. Your energy becomes clean, undiluted, and sovereign, and the masculine feels the pull of that clarity. Every time you choose rest over chaos, every time you choose truth over pleasing, every time you choose stillness over chasing, you call him home with a frequency he cannot resist. You stop trying to convince others of your value, because your energy now speaks that truth. This is the moment when your life stops leaking power. This is the moment when alignment becomes the default. This is the moment when union becomes inevitable. Because love that is ready for union refuses to waste anything, especially energy. You become a guardian of your own divine fuel. A protector of your spiritual voltage. A sovereign steward of your own life force. And the universe responds by only bringing you what honors your sacred flame. In this frequency, energy becomes the currency of destiny, spent only where love returns. 7 boundaries become policy. Love protects what it values. As the twin flame journey evolves into its higher frequency, the concept of boundaries undergoes a powerful rebirth. In earlier stages, boundaries may have felt like threats, ultimatums, or desperate attempts to be heard. They were often wrapped in fear, fear of abandonment, fear of displeasing, fear of losing the connection. But once the inner healing takes root, boundaries no longer come from panic. They come from power. This is when boundaries transform into policies, calm, neutral, and non-negotiable. The feminine no longer shakes when she states her needs. Her voice no longer trembles when she says, "This does not feel good to me." She doesn't try to soften her truth with excessive explanations. She doesn't defend her decisions or justify her worth. She speaks once, and her body language finishes the sentence. No becomes a complete sentence. This changes the entire dynamic of the connection. The masculine, who thrives on clarity, suddenly has a structure he can trust. Where once he sensed emotional volatility, now he feels consistency. Where once he feared disappointing the feminine, now he understands the rules of engagement. Boundaries are no longer obstacles he must escape. They become the architecture that allows him to feel safe, focused, and present. The feminine embodies the emotional boundary. The masculine respects the structural boundary. Together, they anchor the union into stability. This shift is essential because sacred love is not sustained by passion alone. It requires architecture. It requires mutual respect. It requires knowing where each soul ends and where the field of the union begins. Without boundaries, the energy leaks. Without policies, insecurity rules. With them, the bond becomes unshakable. You will notice that guilt evaporates. There is no internal punishment for honoring your needs. You do not fear how someone will interpret your truth. You do not apologize for protecting your energy. You stop rewarding inconsistency and start honoring alignment. You become loyal to your highest self first, and in doing so, you become more loyal to the union than ever before. As the boundaries strengthen, the connection deepens. The masculine feels the stability of your yes and the finality of your no. He can rise into his leadership without fearing that love will collapse beneath him. The feminine refuses to abandon herself, so the masculine finally stops abandoning the bond. Everything that used to feel like chaos now becomes order. Everything that used to feel unpredictable now becomes grounded in certainty. This is not distance, it is devotion. Not control, but clarity. Not closing off, but opening correctly. Because a boundary is not a wall. It is a doorway, one that requires awareness to pass through, one that protects the sanctity of what lies inside. When boundaries become policy, the union becomes possible. And the message your soul sends is simple and sovereign. I choose love. And love must choose me back. 8. Silence of the inner critic, when love no longer fears itself. One of the most miraculous shifts in the twin flame ascension is the quieting of the inner critic, the voice that once tore you apart from the inside. That voice was not solely your own. It was the echo of the masculine's fear, insecurity, and self-judgment radiating through the shared field. As he heals, that voice loses its source of fuel. The doubts you once believed were truth suddenly sound like strangers at your door, and you no longer open that door. Where you once questioned every move, every thought, every feeling, now there is stillness. A spacious, grounded quiet. The absence of that harsh internal commentary isn't just relief, it's revelation. You finally discover who you are beneath the noise. Not a flaw to be corrected. Not a wound to be hidden. But a soul stepping fully into its own divine authority. Shame, which once clung to every memory and mistake, is no longer able to make you believe its stories. It tries to rise from habit, but without energy from the masculine's unhealed parts, it collapses instantly. You look back at your past with compassion instead of regret. Every painful chapter becomes a stepping stone rather than a prison. Your heart stops apologizing for the space it takes up in the world. Decision-making becomes effortless. You no longer delay your life waiting for approval, or fearing you will choose wrong. You trust your intuition, not because you learned to, but because fear no longer interrupts it. There is no internal battle between doubt and desire. There is no bargaining with uncertainty. There is only alignment and movement. This is where the feminine becomes truly sovereign. She no longer waits for external validation, emotional reassurance, or permission to rise. Her self-support becomes natural. She recognizes that unconditional love begins within her and radiates outward. She finally embodies what she tried so long to earn. I am enough. I am worthy. I am here with purpose. This inner sovereignty is not cold or detached, it is warm and stable. It is the feminine standing in her softness without losing her spine. It is compassion without self-abandonment. It is love overflowing from fullness, not yearning from emptiness. And as she embodies this harmony, the masculine feels it like a calm wave washing over him. Her inner equilibrium reflects the successful completion of his inner work. There is no longer any projection of his fear onto her thoughts. There is no longer any energetic distortion whispering lies about her value. The union finds balance because both sides have learned love without war. The silence of the inner critic is not the end of your healing. It is the beginning of your freedom. It is the state of a soul no longer fighting for its existence, but living its highest truth with grace. It proves that love is no longer a battle between you and yourself. Your mind has finally become a home where your heart is safe to speak. 9. Worthiness becomes embodied, when love finally knows its own value. One of the most transformative shifts on the twin flame path is when worthiness is no longer something you try to believe, but something you become. It stops being a mantra taped to a mirror or a concept you repeat to override fear. Instead, it rises from deep within the body, steady and undeniable. You do not need to convince yourself that you deserve love, commitment, or reciprocity. Every cell knows it as truth. This embodiment of worth does not shout. It does not demand. It does not negotiate. It simply recognizes that anything less than aligned devotion cannot remain. The days of accepting crumbs, half-hearted attention, unreliable presence, conditional affection, are over. You no longer cling to potential or hope that someone will eventually choose you. You choose yourself first, and from that choice springs a remarkable clarity. If love requires self-abandonment, it is not love. Walking away from what hurts, or even from what almost fits, becomes clean, powerful, and liberating. There is no revenge in the departure. No resentment. No gripping of old illusions. Just a calm knowing, if it is not fully honoring my worth, it cannot stay in my world. This shift is not rooted in ego. It is rooted in truth. You become incapable of shrinking just to be tolerable. You stop silencing your needs to avoid conflict. You stop bending your boundaries to maintain connection. Self-respect becomes your default frequency, the energetic atmosphere you live inside. And the universe adjusts everything around you to match it. When worthiness is fully embodied, you speak differently. You expect differently. You receive differently. You attract differently. The people who approach you must now bring the same level of integrity, presence, and reciprocity that you have learned to give yourself. Half energy cannot survive in your field. The healed masculine feels this shift immediately. He recognizes that he can no longer return in fragments. He must come whole. He must come aligned. He must come as the man who knows his own value too. Because two sovereign beings in union do not complete each other. They magnify each other. This is where the feminine energy becomes a lighthouse, glowing with self-trust, drawing forward what resonates and dissolving what doesn't. Her worth radiates like a signal. She no longer searches, she summons. She no longer begs, she allows. She no longer wonders if she is enough, she knows that her very existence is divine proof. This embodied worthiness becomes the magnetic core of the union. It calls forth only what is worthy of her heart. It calls the masculine into his highest form, not through demand, but through reflection. You become the standard that love must meet. You embody the value that love must honor. You hold the frequency that love must rise to. This is not arrogance, it is ascension. It is the soul saying, I am loved because I exist. I am deserving because I am. And from that moment on, love has no choice but to come correct. 10 emotional parasites are expelled. The soul refuses to bleed for what doesn't feed. As you ascend into the healed frequency of the twin flame union, your nervous system undergoes a divine recalibration. Your energy field, once porous from wounds and longing, becomes sealed, sovereign, and selective. This is where emotional parasites can no longer attach. The people, habits, and conversations that once fed on your light without returning nourishment are suddenly unbearable to your spirit. Your tolerance for drama collapses overnight. You no longer have the capacity to entertain gossip, chaos, or emotional manipulation. The very vibration of these energies feels like poison entering your field. Phone calls that once lasted hours now end in minutes, or never get answered at all. You do not feel guilty. You feel protected. Your nervous system has become a truth detector. One small interaction with certain individuals can drain you for the rest of the day, and your body alerts you instantly. It recoils, tightens, or shuts down in the presence of anything inauthentic, demanding, or low vibrational. The message is clear: this energy does not belong to your future. You are not rejecting people. You are rejecting frequencies. This shift is not rooted in ego, coldness, or superiority. It is rooted in alignment. It is the healed masculine energy operating through the feminine's choices, firm, discerning, and anchored in self-worth. The feminine no longer sacrifices herself to maintain connections that only survive on her overgiving. She withdraws her life force from relationships that require her to shrink, suffer, or silence herself. That withdrawal is not abandonment, it is evolution. People who once controlled, drained, or emotionally fed on your light will feel the absence immediately. Some will panic and try to reclaim access. Some will attempt guilt, blame, or manipulation to pull you back down. But your field, now upgraded and protected, does not allow re-entry. Love that feeds on fear is no longer permitted anywhere near your heart. Your spiritual hygiene becomes a core priority, not because you are fragile, but because you are finally powerful. You recognize the worth of your attention. You honor the sacredness of your peace. You know that your energy is a holy resource meant for creation, not consumption. This is the masculine self-respect becoming embodied in the feminine's boundaries. The more the masculine heals, the less tolerance he has for anything that dishonors the union, and this becomes the feminine's new standard. Anything that attempts to siphon from your awakening will be removed by force if necessary, by the universe, by your intuition, or by your very silence. Your field becomes clean. Your heart becomes guarded with wisdom, not walls. Your energy becomes a temple reserved for what is divine. The truth is simple. You did not lose anything. You are no longer being drained. This is what happens when a soul finally decides, I will no longer feed what starves me. 11. Financial flow mirrors the bond, when love unlocks prosperity. As the twin flame union rises into its healed timeline, one of the most noticeable shifts occurs in the material realm. The way money moves in your life changes completely. Where scarcity once tightened your chest and fear shaped your decisions, now financial flow begins to match the clarity, confidence, and stability of the union itself. Money is not just currency, it is energy. It responds to alignment. As the inner masculine releases doubt, fear of inadequacy, and beliefs of unworthiness, his healed energy activates the channel of manifestation. He no longer feels threatened by responsibility or pressured by the expectation to provide. Instead, he feels empowered by his purpose, driven by capability, and guided by clarity. And because the bond is shared on a soul level, the feminine immediately feels the shift in the material world around her. Suddenly opportunities appear not through struggle but through resonance. Work aligns effortlessly. Offers come in that match your value. Finances stabilize without panic or pursuit. Doors that remained locked for years begin swinging open, not all at once, but in perfect divine timing. The external world rearranges itself to support the life the two of you are stepping into. Where the anxious attachment to money once caused you to cling, now there is trust. Where financial decisions once came from fear, now they come from intuition. Where scarcity once ruled, abundance enters with grace. This is because the union has reached a frequency where both hearts finally understand. You are not here to survive, you are here to build. Money becomes a partner to the mission, not a threat to peace. Bills get paid on time not by miracles of desperation, but by the coherence of inner alignment. The right clients, collaborations, and creative projects show up exactly when needed, as if the universe itself is now on your payroll. This is the masculine energy at its highest expression. Providing stability. Supporting growth. Turning vision into form. Anchoring spiritual union into physical reality. The feminine receives, not passively, but with gratitude and confidence. She allows abundance to flow through her life without hesitation or guilt. She no longer believes she must overwork, overgive, or overprove her worth to earn support. She simply embodies worthiness, and life responds. Financial flow becomes proof of healed energy. This is not about luxury for ego's sake, though abundance may express itself beautifully. This is about resource alignment. The universe knows you are preparing for a shared future. It knows you will require a stable foundation, a home where love can land, a life where mission can expand. So it provides. Not as a reward. Not as luck. But as a reflection of truth. When fear exits the bond, scarcity exits your life. Money no longer runs away from you because you no longer run away from yourself. The flow becomes a mirror, and the mirror shows a union that is ready to thrive, not merely survive. Receiving becomes your natural state. Abundance becomes your shared reality. Prosperity becomes a language of love. 12. Fast trigger resolution. When healing becomes integration instead of injury. One of the clearest signs that the twin flame union has anchored into its healed frequency is the transformation in how you respond to emotional triggers. Where once a single comment, silence, or misunderstanding could send you spiraling into fear, panic, or self-doubt for days, now, the trigger rises, is observed, and dissolves. It no longer owns you. It no longer defines you. It no longer speaks louder than love. This shift reveals a profound maturity in your nervous system, and in the bond itself. The shadow is still present, but it has lost its authority. It cannot manipulate the storyline or control your reaction. These old wounds that once screamed now only whisper, And even those whispers fade quickly in the presence of your clarity. A trigger arises. You pause. You breathe. You witness. And instead of collapsing into old patterns, you apply a boundary that protects your heart without punishment or drama. There is no emotional explosion. There is no self-attack afterward. You do not label yourself broken. You do not collapse into regret or panic. You correct the energy gently and move forward with dignity. This is the union of masculine logic and feminine intuition working in perfect collaboration. The feminine feels the trigger, she senses what requires alignment. The masculine responds, he implements structure, clarity, and corrective action. Together, they transform what once destroyed connection into what now strengthens it. Where there used to be obsession with the trigger. What does this mean? Why did they do that? Did I mess everything up? Now there is a knowing. This is an old wound trying to speak. It does not reflect current truth. Instead of spirals, you now experience swift elevation. Instead of criticism, you now offer inner care. Instead of fear, you now choose trust. This is what healing looks like when it is embodied. No emotional tug-of-war. No drowning in the past. No panic about the future. Just presence. Just truth. Just alignment. Every resolved trigger becomes a brick in the foundation of the union. Every boundary becomes a declaration of love, not only for them, but for yourself. You no longer react from abandonment wounds because the masculine has healed his fear of intimacy, and the feminine has healed her fear of rejection. The field between you is no longer contaminated by projections, it is clear, grounded, and safe. This is where trust stops being a spiritual goal and becomes a felt reality. Triggers become teachers, not threats. Healing becomes immediate, not prolonged. Movement becomes forward, not backward. This is the final evolution of the shadow. It becomes a signal, not a story. You no longer feel the need to protect yourself from love. Because now you recognize that the union is the protection. When triggers dissolve into wisdom, the past loses its grip. And suddenly, the only direction left is toward each other. 13 synchronicities become instructions, when the universe steps in as your navigator. As the twin flame connection evolves beyond healing and into alignment, synchronicities change their purpose. They are no longer gentle nods of reassurance from the universe. They become active guidance, a living instruction manual unfolding around you. The patterns that once appeared randomly now show up with precision, frequency, and undeniable intention. The signs aren't asking you to believe anymore, they are directing you to move. Angel numbers begin operating like a divine language. But instead of universal meanings, they develop specific codes customized to your union. Perhaps 111 signals direct masculine awakening. Maybe 444 appears only when the masculine is overcoming fear, and 777 announces that reunion energy is reaching physical form. You don't search online to decode them, your soul translates instantly. The numbers become commands rather than curiosity. Symbols repeat themselves with synchronized intention. You see his name in places you've never looked before. You hear songs at perfect moments, lyrics answering questions you haven't spoken. Feathers, specific animals, recurring phrases, key locations, all appear like a cosmic breadcrumb trail leading the two of you closer. What used to be coincidence now feels like GPS for the soul. Synchronicities stop providing comfort and start providing directions. Instead of, everything is connected, the message becomes, here is your next step. This shift reveals that the logistics of union are being coordinated by a higher intelligence. Last-minute rescheduling suddenly places you in a necessary divine timing window. Unexpected delays block you from paths that would have stolen your energy. The universe reroutes you not to test you, but to prepare you. Meetings happen out of nowhere. Opportunities show up precisely when needed. Alignment happens before doubt can interfere. This is the masculine's healed energy mirroring into the physical world. In earlier stages, synchronicities support the feminine, soothing her heart, validating her inner knowing, helping her trust the connection through separation. But once the masculine completes his inner work, the guidance shifts. The energy becomes not emotional reassurance, but tactical direction. Not comfort, but coordination. The external world begins to behave like the masculine's newly organized mind, structured, strategic, and anchored in purpose. Synchronicities become the architecture of alignment, moving both of you into the exact conversations, healing moments, and physical intersections required for union. It becomes impossible to miss the signs now. They do not whisper. They command attention. This is how the universe ensures your readiness. It eliminates anything that would waste time. It collapses paths not meant for your destiny. It clears interference from the field. It synchronizes the hearts, calendars, and locations of both souls. The synchronicities are no longer asking you to trust that union is coming. They are showing you how union is coming. They are the countdown. They are the map. They are the proof that destiny has stepped into the driver's seat. When signs become strategy, the journey is no longer guided by hope. It is guided by certainty. 14. The gaze of recognition, when the soul speaks through the eyes. There comes a moment on the twin flame journey when the connection shifts from energetic to visible, from internal knowing to undeniable physical truth. It happens in a single glance, unexpected, unplanned, and yet destiny-timed. Eyes meet again, and everything becomes still. The panic that once surged through the body disappears, replaced by a serenity so deep it feels like home breathing through you. The heart no longer races in fear, it expands in recognition. This is the gaze of remembrance. It is not merely two eyes locking, it is two souls returning to the place where they never separated. All the stories, all the running, all the misunderstandings and spiritual lessons melt away in that quiet second. There is no past to defend. No future to fear. Only truth standing face to face. The masculine's eyes reveal this transformation first. Where once there may have been hesitation, flickering uncertainty, or a quick glance away, now there is presence, full, calm, grounded. His gaze no longer darts around for escape routes or distractions. He isn't hiding behind tension or pretending he doesn't feel the intensity. He is in his body. He is in his power. And he is with you completely. The fear-driven intensity that once felt like fire finally becomes light. The recognition is mutual, instant, and wordless. It's you, and we both know it now. There is no performing. No mask. No nervous fidgeting. Just truth. In this moment, everything you sensed in the silence is confirmed in the physical. The inner knowing you defended during separation is validated with a single look. Telepathy, dreams, signs, and energetic pulls all converge into one visual affirmation. The soul steps forward, and the ego steps back. This gaze feels ancient, as though your eyes have looked into each other across lifetimes. 1,000 memories flicker beneath the surface, not as images but as familiarity. You do not remember, you recognize. The feminine feels safe. The masculine feels ready. The bond feels realer than the ground beneath you. This recognition does not swell with chaos, it settles with certainty. There is no drama in this moment. No trembling. No second-guessing. The body knows before the mind can speak. The connection feels inevitable, ordained, and structurally sound. It feels like arrival. From this point forward, avoidance becomes impossible. Running has no purpose anymore. The eyes have exposed everything that used to hide beneath silence. Every exit is closed except forward. The connection has moved from possibility to embodiment. This gaze is the pivot point where the spiritual union becomes physical. The masculine no longer needs to protect himself from love, he is love. The feminine no longer needs to chase, she is chosen. The energy no longer needs to prove itself, it simply is. Two souls finally recognize the truth their hearts have always known. Home isn't a place. Home is the look in the eyes of the one who remembers you. 15. Precognitive intuition activates. The future begins whispering before it arrives. When the twin flame connection fully enters the stage of alignment, intuition shifts into its highest function, precognition. You suddenly begin knowing what is coming before it touches the physical world. Messages, meetings, breakthroughs, all reveal themselves first within your inner sight. You no longer wait to see signs externally. Your soul becomes the sign. Dreams transform into detailed previews of what is about to unfold, not symbolic, not cryptic, but instructional. You may dream of a conversation and wake up knowing it will occur soon. You may see a location you have never physically visited, only to find yourself brought there weeks later in perfect timing. You may feel a specific emotional tone, reunion, commitment, communication, arriving in advance as a subtle hum beneath your breath. Time begins to bend around destiny. Calendar changes, delays, and unexpected rescheduling no longer frustrate you, they guide you. What once looked like inconvenience is now clearly recognized as the universe rearranging reality with precision. You start to trust that if something falls away, it is because something better aligned is being prepared behind the scenes. Fate is no longer a poetic idea, it is logistics. This intuition shows up especially around your counterpart. You know when they are thinking of you. You know when a message is forming in their heart. You know when communication is imminent, not by logic, but by energy. It is as if your soul receives a notification before the phone ever lights up. This is not imagination, it is the shared field transmitting information instantly. The feminine becomes the receiver, her intuitive channel wide open, translating the masculine's intention long before it takes physical form. She prepares, emotionally, spiritually, and practically, for what she knows is coming. Creating space in her home. Shifting her schedule. Releasing unnecessary commitments. Aligning her life for a shared reality. She is not guessing. She is responding to truth. Meanwhile, the masculine is moving with structure, planning, grounding, securing his world so that when he steps forward, he does so with commitment and stability. His energy becomes direct and focused, and the feminine senses the strategy in his approach before any action is visible. His healing removes fear of the future. Her intuition reveals the future ahead of time. Together, they walk toward each other from both sides of the timeline. This level of precognition is a hallmark of the union's acceleration. It proves that the path is no longer theoretical, it is unfolding. You are not imagining outcomes anymore. You are preparing for them. The mind may still attempt to question, but the body knows. The heart knows. The soul knows. The future is not something you wait for. It is something you feel. It is something you remember before it happens. Your intuition has become prophetic. Because reunion has become inevitable. You've just taken a powerful step into the truth of your sacred connection. These symptoms are not coincidences. They are confirmations. The energy between you isn't fading, it's finally aligning. December is not bringing confusion, it's bringing union. Now I want to hear from you. Are you already experiencing any of these signs? Do you feel the shift rising inside your heart, your dreams, your body? Comment. I am ready for union. Below to anchor this timeline into your field. Let the universe see your yes. Let the masculine feel your calling. And if this message resonated deeply with you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because more guidance is coming to help you navigate the final stages of your reunion. You are closer than you think. You are supported more than you know. And love is moving faster than you can imagine. Thank you for sharing your energy with me today. Keep your vibration clean. Keep your heart open. And I will see you in the next one. Until then, trust the signs. The journey is already unfolding in your favor.